Welcome along to our opposition preview. The internationals are finally over. Back to Premier League football. This weekend, Saints host Watford at St Mary. So here to give us the buzz on the Hornets is John from the Watford podcast, From The Rookery End. John, thanks for joining us, mate.
No worries. Good evening.
You loved that pun already.
No, I've never heard it before, ever.
Let's get straight into it then. Both teams had very similar starts to our campaigns. 3 games in, 5 points, 2 draws, a win, and an early exit in the cup. But you've got to be fairly satisfied with your beginning to your campaign already.
Yeah, I think we probably are. Like you said, there's several things that are sort of the same. We've both changed managers, and sort of the worry is always when you get a new manager that things aren't going to settle down or they're not going to kick into gear quite quick enough. But I think we had our game against Liverpool, where we had 2 boys go off injured. Did we see the full Watford? Could we have got the win out of that game? We saw Watford in the second half at least go rampant over Bournemouth, where we were in our what we see as the full effect Watford with all our new signings, with Charlison and Chalobah, hooking up with what we had already. And then the Brighton game was ruined by quite a tackle from Britos, a ninja tackle, I think you call it, on a knockout at Brighton. So, yeah, we're happy with what we've seen. We just want to see a little bit more of it.
I've seen better tackles on the Sunday League pitch from that Britos.
Oh, it was... I've never heard, if it was an away game, it would have been an awful atmosphere. But as a home game, you could hear, oh no, oh no, Miguel, no. Literally the whole stadium being quite daddling and granddaddy about it all.
And you mentioned there another new manager in the door at Watford, Marco Silva this time. We were actually linked with him towards the tail end of last season. Done a very good job with the whole last season. Wasn't able to keep him up, but just how has he been shaping up and what sort of tactics is he employing with Watford?
Well, the formation is a 4-2-3-1, which is working, as much I can say after 3 games. What I think he's brought in that previous managers haven't done is he is a players manager. When you learn a little bit more about what he did when his first managerial role, which led from him being a player at the club, he is a sort of a person, a person's person. He's not like we had last year with Walter, where it was all very much. He's a proper, almost old school manager, and sort of knitting an eclectic mix of players together isn't what Walter did very well, and Kike did to some extent, and that's the sort of vibe we're getting. We have had the signings we've taken on are much younger. That certainly seems to be what we would expect as a Pozzos, our owners, what they did at Udinese, buy them young, shine them up and then sell them on. And this is what we're with Hughes and Chalobah and Richarlison, who we got from Brazil, certainly seen that way. And I think that's the strength he's going to have this season. He's just sort of going to knit those boys together, as well as, and that will sort of evolve the team a bit more. But he's sort of much higher tempo when it's good, apart from when we played Bristol City, but it was slow and sluggish.
And you mentioned a few names there already, and actually I've been very impressed with some of these signings that you made. A very English core in Andre Gray, former Luton boy. Won't mention that one, but Will Hughes, Nathaniel Chalobah as well, very talented young players, and Richarlison as well, Brazilian young lads, lots of potential. But which other players, apart from the obvious, should we be looking out for and say, which players can cause us damage?
You can always... Wait for a bit of an attack and a decent foul from Holebas. We were so unfortunate last year; he didn't beat the record for a number of yellow cards in the Premier League history. But generally, they cleverly. So we have Decore, who you will definitely hear his new chant to Earth, Wind and Fire September. He played for us end of last year, and he has sort of come to life a little bit more, playing with Chalobah as the 2 at the back. And I think that works in several layers. It complements him as a player, but also it's that sort of, they're both young lads and they sort of fit together. And they're sort of playing in the midfield 3 at the moment with Tom Cleverley, who we had on loan last year, and he's come in full signing this summer. So those 3 are really dynamic. Gray, we haven't seen the full most of, but then he didn't play, wasn't around for the first game. We had a very weird game against Brighton. He was really on his own up the top there when you start having one player sent off and then make a defensive substitution, and that defensive substitution has to go off. we haven't quite seen the most. He does need to score a goal, as strikers do. But the strength at the moment is our midfield three with Doucouré, with Chalobah, sort of freeing each other up to be expressive, and with Cleverley sort of being an absolute workhorse. Yeah.
And let's wrap things up then, John. Give us your score prediction. What are your expectations for Saturday at St Mary's?
My hopes is for Watford to not let another goal in. Our defence feels like our weakness at the moment. It's definitely not our clearest picture. For Andre Gray to get 2, he can't just score 1. He's got to score at least 2. So I'm going to go for 2-0. I'm not liking the sound of that. And we may even have Virgil van Dijk, but that's another story in itself. But excellent stuff, John. Yeah. If you guys at home have loved like John's comments, so make sure you head out From The Rookery End podcast. Excellent podcast, by the way. And I'm sure there'll be a post-match pod after Saturday's game, right, John? There is. And also, if you're just a football fan, I used to do another podcast called Hornet Heaven, which is sort of a sitcom. Which is not written by me, but we put it together, and it's about life after death as a Watford fan, which is quite funny. Excellent stuff, John. Thanks for joining us, mate. No worries. And don't forget to leave us your predictions in below. Leave us your likes, your comments, and subscribe for more.